I finally managed to get a new computer. And the big question is, do you need a computer like this? And I'm willing to bet 10 to 1 that the answer is no. This is a Mac Studio, and this is a Mac Studio monitor. Really nice combination, very expensive. I am a professional educator. I have a teaching degree, and I did get a discount on the educator discount from Apple, but these things are not cheap. I've been in education since 1977, and I got my first computer in 1979, and except for one of them, they've all been Apple products. I have a master's in computer education, and I was a technology integrator. Been involved with computers for a long time. Really like them. It's been more of a hobby than anything else. So I've done a lot of stuff with computers over the years. But now that I'm retired, my technology needs are much meager. And I'm willing to bet that yours are too. So if we're thinking of buying this system and you see a YouTube video that says, wow, you've got to get this, you're going to look at it. And then you could scroll down and you can see the next guy saying, don't make the mistake that I did. So what you going to do? Let's try to straighten things out if you're looking for a new computer, but only if it's a Mac, because that's the only thing I can talk to. So who is this video made for? This is made for, let me be blunt, people who are retired, let's say older, and of course anyone else who just wants some straight information about which computer to buy. They don't want to buy too much, they don't want to have to pay any more than they have to, and they want to get the right thing so it'll be there for them and it'll last over time. And remember, we're just talking Apple products here, Macs. Now, we've got to talk a little bit about history, because Macs right now come in two varieties. If this video were a little older, it might just be one. But Apple products in the recent past have been all done with Intel-based processors. They've been very good, they've been very powerful, and they've worked well. Apple recently migrated over to their own chips. They're called the M1 chips. They call them Apple Silicon. Even all chips are made with silicon. And the reason they did this is they saw the Intel chip as a dead end. Intel computers, like the iMac that's been around for a long time, has a lot of components in it. There's a logic board, there are memory cards, there are graphic cards, power supplies, fans, buses, which are connectors that connect all of these things. And they've been fine, but in order to get them smaller and more compact and put more into them has been very difficult because of the nature of the architecture of the chip. If you ever used an Intel-based processor, either a PC or a Mac, if you have it on your lap, if it's a laptop, it can get very hot. And computers can get very hot too. And they have fans that turn on, and if you're doing some high-powered stuff like rendering video, the fans will roar trying to keep the thing cool. They take a lot of electricity, which really isn't as big a deal as the fact that electricity produces a lot of heat, some high wattage. And heat is the enemy of digital electronics. What Apple did, and also a few other companies did also, is they started out making chips for their phones, the iPhone and the iPad, that were much smaller and consolidated. So you would have all of these components that you would see in a large computer put on one small chip. Apple called them the A series chips in the iPad and the phones. And then what they've done is they've taken and made one that is very similar, and they've called it the M chip. And right now we have the M1 and the M2 at this stage of the game. They took all of those components and put them pretty much on one chip. And it uses a fraction of the electricity and therefore produces a fraction of the heat. So compared to my other computer, my other iMac, which the fans would roar a lot, you could always hear them. This computer, for example, which has the M1 chip, I think the fan is running because I have some software that tells me that it does, but I can hardly hear it. They're not big, and they're running very, very slowly because the computer can control the speed of the fan depending on how much it needs to cool the computer off. So, not an enemy of the computer because the heat is being kept down. So the upsides of this, you have low heat, easier on the electronics. The other upside of this is that since everything is on one chip, they can keep everything very close together. And the paths that signals have to travel between memory chips and the graphic processor or memory chips and the logic board, in this case on a chip, is very short. It's measured in nanometers. Right now, these are 4 nanometers. They're working on a 3 nanometer chip, which I think will come out next year. And it makes everything much faster. So you have a very fast computer, even in its basic form. Even the lowest one is still blazingly fast. Now, what are the downsides? And there are some. If you had one of the older computers, particularly if you had like a PC in a tower, you could take the logic board and pull it out, put a new one in to upgrade it. If a part went bad, it was an unpluggable sort of thing with a cord inside, and you could replace it, you could fix them, and you could upgrade them to a point. With the M1 chip, since everything is on a chip, the whole computer pretty much is on a chip. If the chip goes bad or something goes bad on it, that's it, game over. Now, hopefully, these things are like the new LED bulbs. They almost have like a lifetime lifespan on them because they run so cool. And the parts are all consolidated together and not just screwed on various places inside of the computer. So as a result, hopefully the chip will last the life of the computer. But you got to get it the way you want it the first time, because there is no, and I mean no, upgrading most of these at all. Now, before we go any further, let's back it up just a little bit, because there are a lot of you out there, and I know there are a lot of you out there, because I have seen you, I have talked with you, I have relatives, I have friends that I have recommended this to. A lot of you do not need a computer. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of you who don't like computers because you got to fiddle with them and you got to work on them and you got to know how things are configured and so forth. For those people, this is what I recommend.
Oh, hi. I'm here again.
Hi folks, if you watch any of our videos, you know this is my wife, Joyce. And she is that example, or an example, of one of the many people that I've talked about who have decided long ago that they didn't need a computer. Now, Joyce,
Yes.
you've had a couple of computers, right?
Yes.
You had the gumdrop one,
Yes.
or the early iMacs,
Yes.
and you actually had the last computer you had was the one that looks like a basketball with an arm.
Yes.
And they were both really nice, particularly that
Yes.
arm one. which is
Yes.
unusual design, but it was really nice.
Yeah.
But, you know, I sat on top of those things, keeping them running, which wasn't difficult, and configured and you know, and everything, and you used them successfully, and
Yes.
you liked it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But eventually, as the iPads came out and improved, you had your first iPad was the second generation one,
Yes.
and this one is 5 generations beyond that. It's not really new, but it's pretty new.
Yes.
And so, with your iPad, like, what do you use it for?
Well, I use it mostly for reading. I read quite a few books, and
That's an understatement. Oh my
And-
God, we have a Kindle account for this, we can't
Yes.
afford to keep up with it.
Yes, on Kindle. And I also check Facebook every once in a while, and I also use Prime Video from Amazon. Those are the 3 things that I use the most.
You also like look at your mail,
Yes,
And,
occasionally.
occasionally a FaceTime thing or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So that's about it.
Yeah,
Okay. And that makes some people happy. That's really all they want. You know, they don't want to program. They don't want to make iMovies,
no,
you know, or the phone would be fine for them. And Joyce, you've always been one of those people.
yes,
Okay, you have very specific sort of focus needs. So having a computer where you have to sit at a desk, if it's on a laptop,
yes.
and you have to look at, you know, one screen, and you have to keep the thing running, and you have a keyboard, it's nice, but this has set you free.
Yes, I can take it most anywhere.
Yeah, and we do, I mean, she knows how to configure some stuff, and I do a lot with it, but whereas when you were using the computer, you were always like yelling from across the room, Dan, you know, and I used to click things and get you
Yeah.
out of trouble because you moved here or there, or something stopped working right,
Yes,
or your account wasn't working. This, you almost never call me over. It just works. I mean, you set it up and then it's there, and you don't restart it, you know. It doesn't mess up. It just seems to work. And there are so many people that, you know, when they call me over to their homes, and I visit a lot of people, and a lot of retired people, some relatives, and they say, this is what I want to do. And I said, well, you know, you really don't need a computer. Consider an iPad. You know, yes, the screen's small, but they do make large ones. They're kind of expensive. You know, just, you know, consider an iPad. And you probably won't have to call me over after you buy it and we get it set up. And you may never have to see me again, which would be probably really sad for them.
oh,
Maybe
of
not.
course.
So, if you're considering a computer and you really think you need one, or you want one, that's great. But if your needs are much more in line with something like Joyce does, take it from Joyce.
Yeah.
This might be your answer. Thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome, Dan.
Moving on.
Yes.
So, which computer do you want if you had to buy one? Now, we're not going to talk laptops here. There are a few models of those, they're very good. We're talking about a home computer that's a desktop. Well, these are the models pretty much that Apple has. They have the new M1 iMac. This computer is an all-in-one unit. You see the screen? That's the whole computer. They also have the Mac Mini. It's a small box about the size of a paperback book. It's the whole computer minus the monitor. So what you do is you buy a monitor to plug into it. The other model, the one that I have that you saw earlier, is a Mac Studio. Right now it's one of their higher end computers that has a lot more processing power for people who work mainly with photo and video editing stuff, particularly the high-end stuff. I am not one of those. I will tell you that I could use any of these computers and it would be overkill for my use. Now, for those of you who do want a computer, I would think that most of you would be just fine with an iMac, which for a computer with a monitor is on the low end of the cost of Apple products, and none of them are really low cost, but on the low end of what they sell as far as cost is concerned. It has a super clear high resolution screen. It's very fast. If anybody is doing anything up to the point of even the stuff that I do, you would think it is the fastest thing you've probably ever used. Unless you're a PC gamer and have used some of that really super high-end stuff. And it would probably, you would feel would suffice for your needs for a very long time to come. And you'd be right. It has a 24-inch screen. It is as crystal clear as you're ever going to see because of the resolution of this monitor. It is faster than you will ever need. And the only thing that you might want to do to try to future-proof it, if you're planning on keeping it a very long time, is to increase the memory. Because the base model at the time of this video comes in at 8 gigs of memory. And that's really, when you get it, it's going to seem just fine. And it probably will be for the life of what you're using it for. But a lot of people upgrade when they buy it to 16 gigs. It costs more. And you have to do it when you buy it. We'll come back to it. The Mac Mini is basically the same thing, except you can choose your own monitor with it. So instead of just getting the monitor that comes with the iMac, which is a 24-inch screen, you could get a larger one if you want to. And if you're like me, getting older with your eyes, that can be a good thing. The Studio would be like the Mac Mini, but for someone who wants a much higher powered machine. Probably for most of you, the Mac Studio is not even something you need to consider. Now, most people that I encounter, and probably a lot of you out there, this is how you're using a computer. You are getting your mail, you're browsing the internet, looking up various things. You may be on Facebook or Instagram. You probably are taking some pictures, maybe putting them into a photo program, and in this case on a Mac it's called Photos. Probably not a whole lot more. I know that didn't seem like much, but I think that's what most people are doing. They might be messaging along with their mail, but these are the basic functions. Most people don't go beyond that. And if that's the case, you do not need to get more computer than you need. Any of these computers will do an exemplary job of all of that. Now, a lot of people will tell you you'll need a larger hard drive, and in this case, they're not hard drives, they're solid state drives, so they're extremely fast. The base model comes through with a 250 gig one. And if you're not saving a lot of video and a lot of high resolution pictures, or putting a lot of music on it, then the 256 gig drive will probably be suffice for you for a very long time to come. And you can always offload stuff to another drive or just trash it if you wanted to. That you don't want an iMac, but you want that standalone one like the Mac Mini because you want to get a larger monitor. The monitors come in various sizes, but if you don't want a 24-inch monitor like on the iMac, Generally, people will move up to a 27, 30, or 32-inch monitor. And monitors come in various qualities as far as the screen resolution. They're 1080dp, they're 4K, they're 5K, just like you're starting to see some of the television pictures now. There are even OLED monitors, which are very expensive. But you find a monitor that you want, that you'll look at and you say, that looks good, and it could cost $250 or it could cost $1,500. But you can pick the one you want and you can plug into these computers and they should work just fine. And of course you can pick the size you want too. Now, a lot of the common monitors that people buy, and there are so many brands, but a lot of the common ones that are often recommended for Macs are the various LG monitors. Samsung makes a couple of good ones. Dell makes a few good ones. And there are a bunch of other brands too. For the most part, I see people with pairing LG monitors to their Mac Minis. So here we are, different angle, different shirt, and a different day. I hope this was helpful to some people on getting a practical, down-to-earth view of which computer you might want to buy if it was a Macintosh or an iPad, some Apple product. Some of you may want to look into laptops. They can be very nice too, depending on your needs. But you should get kind of as simple as you want, but try to plan for the future also. And we made an issue at the middle of the video about getting an iPad, and keep in mind they're a lot less expensive than getting a Macintosh system. And in closing, for those people who want to leave comments, helpful comments for people who might be looking at this video and thinking, what do I want? Maybe some testimonials about what's worked best for you under these circumstances. Keep in mind, please, that this video is made for people who just are not computer people and want to do the right thing, but sometimes don't know exactly what they want. And particularly for people, a lot of people who are older did not grow up in the culture, even though I know some of you did, like me. You made a point to do it. And just want to be able to get online and be part of it all. Thanks for watching. And if you have a mind to, please like. It'll bring the video to the surface for more people. And subscribe if you want to.